Hello and welcome to Hops and Brews. This week,
Una cerveza, por favor. Hoy, summertime is coming.
For an open window on a crafty world, Max and Chris from Ups and Brews. Ups and Brews. Welcome to Ups and Brews.
alright, so this week, Mexican lagers. It is a thing. It's not
thing.
just it's a big thing, man. Like, even with Corona, it's technically a Mexican lager, right?
Technically,
And,
yeah.
See?
You have. I think it's Texica, Dos Esquis, and a bunch of other brands that are all labeled.
Yeah, like
as,
those would be the big brands from Mexico, no?
Mostly, but again, they're big brands, so they're probably not owned by a Mexican.
Oh, they're definitely not.
Like
Dos Equis, if I'm not mistaken, is Molson. No, it's in Bev. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And after that, you get lost in the whole scheme of owning breweries and all that. But reason why I want to talk about Mexican lagers, it's because Bellwoods released one probably a couple of weeks ago, and I started seeing a couple of breweries releasing some of them. I saw a couple of them also back last summer in the United States. So I guess
Bellwoods. Yeah. Bellwoods does something and then people follow.
Yeah, something
That's
like
weird.
that. Yeah, that's weird,
What?
right?
Who would have thought, right? One of the biggest breweries of Ontario does something pretty cool, and then other breweries decide they want to do that too.
Crazy, right? So I decided to talk about it on the channel because I think it's fun to pick up on new trends that probably will fade after summer. We're good with that. We did the same thing with milkshake IPAs and brut IPAs, which they basically
you don't
all
really
run.
see a lot of milkshakes anymore. Yeah, milkshake is not like. I see some IPAs with lactose, but they don't market themselves as being milkshake IPAs anymore, which is kind of weird.
Yeah,
You know, it, almost like it was a marketing scheme, did its time, and now it's done.
yeah. Maybe
Same
we.
thing with, you're right, Brute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. Maybe we killed it.
I don't think it's us. I don't think we influence that much.
I don't
But
think-
like brute IPAs, I still hear about, and at the college right now, I've got one classmate who's planning on doing one,
Okay.
and I hear about it a lot because it is interesting using like an exterior amylase. That technically is naturally occurring in grain. It's just a concentrate, and using it elsewhere to try to boost what would naturally happen with beer. So you're kind of overclocking your beer.
Yeah.
You're using something that is technically natural, but you're boosting it as much as you can to try to unleash as much from your beer as possible. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Brute, I'm still not against 100%. I just don't think we're going to see as many anymore either. It was kind of a fad for last summer. This summer, maybe Mexican lagers. Probably not. Maybe.
We, just like Italian Pilsners, I think that there's room for Mexican lagers. So,
Yeah, for sure.
everything started back in Mexico. Crazy, right? From my research so far.
Yeah, for a Mexican lager. Nice. Okay.
So the first lager brewery opened up in 1845, called La Pila Seca. It was opened up by a Swiss immigrant 10 years before the invention of refrigeration. It's a lager brewery, and it's in
how do
Mexico.
you do that?
I don't know, Max. You own the science part of things, so you'll dive a little bit deeper on that. But following the years, Mexican lager really root themselves from the Vienna lager style, which was introduced in the 1800s again by an Austrian immigrant called Santiago Graf. So basically what happened is after the independence war in Mexico, a bunch of German and Austrian immigrants showed up in Mexico, wanted to brew their own beer at the same time because it's the world's best drink. So all that created its own style, being Americanized at the same time by breweries like Corona and by Modelo is also a big one. But the original Mexican lager is known for being a more malty or malt forward pilsner, so less on the crisp side and more on the sweet malty side of things. And we see a lot of that in the styles that are developed more on the south of the Americas.
Okay.
If I'm not wrong. So with all that, Max, how do you brew a Mexican lager? Because from all the research I've made, I think this is where I'm kind of like lost in that.
Well, I think you've pretty much nailed it directly in the sense that Vienna Lager is the inspiration for it. Now, with lagers, it's pretty straightforward, where you want the most neutral palate as possible. You mentioned earlier that they didn't have refrigeration. I've got no idea how they would be able to do a lager without refrigeration, because most of the yeast is not going to work properly if it's too hot. B, you want that neutral palate. You want a neutral flavor in the beer, and a lot of it is because of the cold temperature, where the yeast doesn't develop a lot of esters that your ale yeast are actually going to develop. Now, to go back to the recipe. Again, you said malt forward. It's interesting because a lot of the recipes I've seen actually have corn in it to try to kind of... That's the thing with corn. It's used as an adjunct for a reason. It doesn't have a lot of flavor when it's in the beer. Sometimes it's going to be a little corny, but in general, it's used because you can have a lot of sugars and not a lot of that maltiness and that kind of creaminess. There's a reason why the big guys are using it. It's because it helps with the neutral palate that you're looking for. Naturally, they use concentrated corn and sugars, stuff like that. When you're doing a beer with corn flakes in this case, which is most lagers, I would say, most Mexican lagers, you still get a little corniness, which now is kind of to style, which is kind of interesting as well. Not flavor in some case can end up being perfect for a style. But yeah, it's not really different than any other lagers.
No, not really. I think it's interesting to see that like the original one used to be darker and a little bit more malt forward. I've read online that the I think it's the Negra Modelo. It's the darker version of the Modelo. Is it the Modelo? Yeah, the Modelo. Or probably I'm misinterpreting the right word for the beer, but the original darker version of this beer still exists, and it's the closest to the original recipe. But we move forward to a more Americanized version of it, and I think it labeled itself kind of like a Tex-Mex version of the original one, because we literally Americanized it, added a little bit of corn, making it a little bit more American in that point, which I think is very interesting because we're seeing a lot of them showing up as very light, crispy, even lime-infused drinks. But if you look back at the history, it's closer to the real thing in Germany.
I'm pretty sure that a lime in Corona initially was to help cover the skunkiness of it, because they didn't necessarily use those UV-resistant hops, which is kind of interesting. And now, like, a lot of people will use the lime in beers that are not even Corona.
Yeah.
I think really Budweiser has a lime-flavored beer they've had for a couple of years.
Oh, no. This year it's bad. They're doing orange-infused beers.
Orange-infused beers?
Yeah. It's disgusting. Just thinking about it.
Interesting. Yeah. I'd love to see the process still, because I don't know if it's all extract or if they're actually using the fruit, because there's differences between extract, fruit, concentrate, and like fake flavors, because you can technically play with essential oils and just throw it in and see what happens. I don't know. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, not sure how I feel about that. We'll see. Should we make a video about orange-infused beers? Don't make me drink that, please.
I mean, we could. It'd be interesting to check out Blue Moon or Belgian Moon in Canada, and who's a Shock Top. Like, see the big guys and their orange beers or their like orange flavored beers. Yeah. Why not, right?
Maybe a face-off or something like that.
Are we at this point? Is it?
I'm all good on my end. I'm all good on my end. Yeah.
All right. Well, if you like this video, And even if you didn't like it, please like, subscribe, share with your friends, and let us know in the comments below which kind of 101 you'd like to see next. And if you want to know more about the macro orange infused beers, I guess, I don't know, let us know. We'll see what we can do.
We'll make it happen. Yeah. Please don't make me drink that. Please.